Hey boys, I'm back. I have my second game from Cancon today. I'm up against the player who, in my list review, I predicted to win the whole thing. So I was figuring it was going to be a pretty hard matchup, to be honest. Um, Obviously, same list for me. If you want to hear some more of my thoughts about it, go to the list review or go to the last video where I've discussed it. I won't really get into it here. Dave's list, he's brought like an MSU Demons list. He has two Harbingers, one's an Evoc Adept, and one is a Thalma Adept, and they both have the Hereditary. He's got a unit of 10 Imps with the Hereditary. He has 4 units of 10 Myrmidon with Hot Blood. He's got 3 units of 4 Clawed Fiends. He's got 2 Blazing Glories, and he's got 3 units of 3 Bloatflies with a Champ. It was a little bit hard to sort of predict how my list would play into this. Like, on a unit-to-unit level, I would say, Beast Giant, really good against the Myrmidons. Realistically, like, even decent against the Clawed Fiends. Obviously, the Imps aren't a fighting unit, so not so much of an issue. Beast Giant, probably good against the Blazing Glory as well. Like, I mean, the Beast Giants, I think, in this matchup, have some good targets. The problem is the fact that the Bloatflies probably aren't good for them, and everything's a lot faster than even though they've got Vanguard, it's a little bit harder for them to pick their battles, I guess. And I think in the end, in this one, no, Dave dropped everything the first, so I could have. Okay, so this one was marching columns deployment, so I had the Giants down as an early thing for me, mainly because I could Vanguard them, so he was able to sort of counter deploy with the things that they didn't want to fight as much a bit. So it might have just been a misplay by me, but like one-on-one, I think the Beast Giants match up really well against a lot of things in the list. Obviously, they need to be worried about all of the Spear Infinities coming out and Hand of Heaven and stuff. So if he targets them, they'll probably take 1 or 2 Magic Faces to kill one. But I thought they were a pretty good threat to everything. Like, the Gortach, realistically, one-on-one would fight anything in his army. And same thing with my Chariots, and same thing with my Mongrel Herd. Like, one-on-one, they're pretty much all happy to fight anything. But the problem is the fact that, obviously, Dave's got a lot more units than I do. To the point that, it's not very often that I'm going to be able to manufacture those one-on-one situations that benefit me. So yeah, I guess I can see a lot of advantages for me in the list versus list sort of comparison, but Dave's list is one that you sort of have to, I think, see on the board to see the way it exerts pressure, and sort of is cooperating and supporting each other well, because realistically, me just looking and going like, hey, Beast Giants want to fight everything, really doesn't do justice to the fact that a lot of the time it's like, well, the Beast Giant's going to have to fight a couple of things. He doesn't just get to fight one thing, because the demons are faster at charging, and there's a lot more units of them than I have. So I didn't really have a sort of a prediction or a theory of how this game was going to go going in. It was more sort of, I felt like I had to minimize my sort of chances of just being surrounded. And I wasn't sure how well I'd been able to do that. Because honestly, I haven't played against a similar Demons list to this, and I really haven't played that many similar lists. I don't know what else would be particularly similar to this, but like, I don't play against a lot of MSU, I don't feel. So, I wasn't really sure how this one was going to go going into the game. I just knew that it was definitely going to be tough because Dave's running it, basically. I don't have that many pitches for this game either, to be honest. It was a pretty intense game, and I was pretty sweaty at the end of it, and there was just a lot going on, so I think I only took like 5 pitches in total. So a lot of this will have to be sort of exploring together, and I'll explain what's happening, and it'll all happen in your imagination. It'll be beautiful. I'm not on that. Where are we? There we go. Okay. So this is after Vanguards, just before Dave's first turn, basically. So I dropped the 2 giants, who you can see on the right. So just as a vibe of what's going on, I've got giant here, gargoyles here, unit of Wildhorns behind them. I didn't ambush them because it's the Spoils of War objective. You can see the 3, one of them's hidden behind the Giant's Club, but they're just there in the middle there and over on the side there. So I've only got 1 unit of Wildhorns ambushing. I've got my Chariots in the center, I've got my Mongrels in the center near the middle objective, and I've got my Gorgons basically on the hill, not really thinking that I can stop Dave from getting this objective, but depending on how much you wanted to commit to that side, thinking I do have an ambusher that could come on and threaten for that. And if the Gortachs are able to clear that side, then great, I'll be able to take that. But more really thinking those Gortachs are there to protect that left flank. If he wants to commit 2 units of Bloat Flies, a unit of Clawed Fiends, 2 units of Myrmidons over there, fucking be my guest. Like, happy to have that trade, because I think I'm winning over on the right over the course of the game. How I actually planned this was when I dropped my Giants, I was thinking with the way the board was looking, I was probably going to be focusing more over on the left-hand side and sort of leaving this right-hand side as not my problem. But Dave counter-deployed with a lot of threat over it in this left-hand side. And sort of something I realized as well with how I set up, because I dropped the giant, and the gargoyles. And then I think it was, I guess, because he was doing from the same side, it must have been the Myrmidons here, the Bloat Flies, and then unit of Clawed Fiends here. Basically, what I realized was that it was going to be pretty easy for my Mongrels to just move up, touch that objective, which is behind an piece of impassable terrain, which is honestly a bit silly. The roll for size was pretty big because I had sort of something else basically guard the flank of my Mongrels. They could take that, and there wasn't going to be much that he could do about it pressing down from over here. So I don't know when I realized that. I guess, yeah, because obviously Davis dropped for first, so he dropped those 3 units, and he had Clawed Fiends, Glory, the Imps, Clawed Fiends, Bloat Flyers, Myrmidons, Bloat Flyers, and then Myrmidons over in this corner, sort of worried about ambushes coming on behind. So yeah, once he dropped that, because I only had the Giants and the Gargoyles left, which were the 3 things that I could easily just shoot over to my left-hand side and just give up on that right if I needed, I basically decided, from the way Dave's deployed, I don't think I want to do that anymore. Happy for the Gortachs to defend this left-hand flank, as I said, tie up those points over there. And yeah, my Mongrels will use the Gortachs holding the left flank and the Impassable to sort of easily get that objective. My Chariots are going to roll through the middle here, and as long as I don't sort of get them stranded out on their own where they can be pincered by a whole bunch of things, they're not going to be too worried about anything. And then all I really need to do is have enough sort of pressure coming in from those Giants to get that right objective. And what I was kind of thinking, I wasn't really sure how it was going to work, but you know, if by turn 5 my Chariots were free and able to look over there, then I'm in a pretty good spot, I think. Because even if he's going to get that one. I don't know. I was sort of giving myself plays for that, but I wasn't really expecting to win it, to be honest. I was trying to keep Dave away from it more than get it myself. I'm just going to pop a light on here. Noticing how weirdly red my face was. So I've got the innovative solution of phone light. Yeah, where was I? So yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking with how the deployment was. I was sort of regretting the fact that I had my Giants down first. Because, I don't know. Those Bloat Flies were zoning both of them pretty well. Because realistically, I don't want the Giants fighting the Bloatflies, I don't think. I think I just end up losing that one, no matter what happens. What I've done, basically, here with my Giants Vanguards, by the way, they were chargeable, but I think like sort of 11s and higher by the Bloatflies and the Clawed Fiends. My Giant is just on the wall to get distracting. That first Giant. The Turtle Giant over here, the angle towards the board edge is basically so that if the Bloatflies charge him, they won't be able to maximize. Dave's got his fly on the wrong side of the unit to fight that guy. So for at least the first round of combat, it'll just be one Giant against one fly. And then probably, Giant may not kill the fly, but I think given that he can't get all of his attacks to bear there's a pretty good chance that I do end up winning that combat because I'm able to deny all of them getting in. That's basically the theory behind my deployment. I think I've got Dave's movement next. Where are we? Yes, this is... It's either after his movement or like just when he's finishing things up. Basically, as we sort of expected, he's pushing up to try and get the space and give his unit the chance to get that objective over there. Still staying, I think, out of range of the Gortachs. He might have given me a 6/6, but I didn't really want to... Yeah, no, I wouldn't have wanted to, because even if I got in, then I just die to everything else. It's just a negative points trade for me, and it hurts my zoning ability. He really hasn't pushed up on the right, because he sort of sees that he doesn't want to go for a long bomb charge, doesn't want to get charged by both Giants. So he's happy with that. And plays fairly conservative in the middle. The Myrmidon's guarding along here against ambushes. One of the Blazing Glories turned around. And this must actually be after his magic phase, because he killed 3 Gargoyles with his magic damage. I don't know what happened. I definitely let through, I think, 1 spear on them. I don't know. Whatever it wasn't enough to kill them all, and cool. Happy days for me. Next up, this is my turn 1 movement. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, okay, so my turn 1 movement, I basically just kept this sort of middle Giant a little bit further back. Didn't want him charged by the Bloatflies, as I said, so I didn't really have the ability to push at the moment. Swung the Gargoyles who were there behind my Mongrels, and just sort of pressed up a few inches with, I think the Chariots moved their full distance, whatever. The other Giant over here did do the same thing, went aggressively up, not that aggressively, but got closer to being relevant, did the same thing with the board edge, basically. My Gortachs just stayed on the hill because they were happy with what was happening over there. One thing that I didn't factor in and was a bit silly was I didn't really think about them taking Frenzy Test if Dave just pushed up, which is one of the things he does. I don't know if it's the next turn or later on, but I wasn't really thinking about him pushing up to get killed, knowing that the Frenzy Chest would just take me into a shit position where he'd get more points than me anyway. That's a mistake that I'm making basically in this game. I'll spoil it a bit and say that didn't actually come back to bite me. I think I took 3 or 4 frenzy checks and I passed them all. I don't know what the maths is on a maximized leadership 9, but probably it's about 50-50. Passed them all, so happy days over there. But it was a mistake that I made and I wasn't thinking properly about. I don't think I rolled for my ambushes this turn because I didn't really want them on with the way he was defending. I did get... I'm pretty sure this next one's a big jump, so... Yeah, it is. I didn't really want them on yet, so whatever. I did get a Totem Beast up. Yeah. I sent him sort of near where the Blazing Glory is, facing backwards, and just tried to breath weapon off a couple of wounds. I don't think I did, but he was over there causing trouble. What have we got? This is actually after my turn 2, I want to say. Yeah, I think so. So my totem beast is they're fighting his Blazing Glory, as you can see. Fuck, is this my turn 3? I've already had my magic phase, bro. He's done that. Because he charged him in that position. No, I think... Okay. Yeah, okay. I think this is my turn 2, but I've taken the picture in my magic phase. So basically, what has happened since the last photo... I'll go back here. In Dave's turn, he moved up the bloatflies aggressively, I guess, by the looks of it. The more important thing... Because this left-hand side is sort of like us jockeying for position, neither of us wanting to... He doesn't want to charge me because he knows that one-on-one he can't beat a Gortach. I don't want to charge him because I know that if I do, like, Gortach will die to the counter charge that's coming in. In the middle, though, he did try to charge this middle unit of Clawed Fiends at the Mongrels, and he tried to charge the Blazing Glory at them as well. And this is something that Dave and I disagree... Well, like, we were discussing after the game, and I heard his thoughts, and I don't really think I agree with him on that. Where... Because he was saying, like, he gets them in, and the fact that they failed their charge, and I think... Like, both units failed their charge, and I think... I don't know exactly how close it was, but I think both of them were like a 7-ish. Like, basically the kind of charge with on Swift Stride, you'd be like, yeah, I should make that. Probably one of them failing isn't too, like, unlikely, but having both of them fail, I thought was quite unlikely, but I can't remember what the exact distances were. So Dave basically said not getting them in changed his plans elsewhere. But I don't really see it, to be honest. Because to me, I look at them going into my Mongrels, with me probably getting rerolls to hits off, me having a champion in my unit, and him not having one in the Clawed Fiends, so depending on how he maximizes, I might just challenge the Blazing Glory out for the first round of combat. I think I win that combat. Because he's got, in terms of buff magic, I think he's got Whispers, Spectral Blades, and Smite the Unbeliever. So I would stop Smite the Unbeliever, so that it doesn't affect my strength. And then, sure, maybe he gets off Whispers, maybe even gets off Spectral Blades, but I don't think it matters that much, because I've got enough bodies. The only thing that he's banking on there is that I fail my leadership. I think I had a spell on them by the time... Yeah, I think by the time that he actually tried to charge them, I had a spell, and I think it was either +1 strength or Savage Fury or the Beast Hereditary. And I think it was the Beast Hereditary because I think it was just basically so that if they did get charged, they wouldn't take fear. So realistically, I think all that happens, even if he gets one of those spells off, or both of those spells off, is he wounds me a bit better, but I've got the bodies to take it. And then in my magic phase, I can just buff my combat output. I can buff their defensive stats. Because I hit so much better than him, or not so much better, but because I hit better and I have more attacks, it's like, I think that the end result of that combat, unless I get unlucky and fail a break test, which isn't that unlucky, like, say I take a leadership break test because he's got Whispers up on me, it's not that unlucky that I fail that when I don't have a BSB. But it's also not the sort of thing that I, in Dave's position, would be taking. I wouldn't go like, yeah, like, because if you fail, it's good. I would be sitting there going like, yeah, but if you don't fail, the outcome of that combat, and I could be wrong on the maths. It's not something that I've mathed out. It's just something that I'm thinking about. But I think the end result of that combat is basically I still have, 12 guys left, at least, still scoring to take the objective. And he's lost 330 points or whatever it is for a Blazing Glory and like 330 points for a Clawed Fiend unit, which otherwise he's not necessarily needing to lose. I've got if he doesn't want me to fight or catch the Blazing Glory, I've got no way to get him. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know what particular, if he gets in there, he's thinking is planning, because my Chariots are still zoning everything there. I can still fight anything there that I want to with my Chariots. They're not going to be blocked. I don't know. I felt like that was... If he got in, I didn't really mind him charging them, in all honesty. I thought that, taking a break test might be a bit bad, but presuming I fail and I'm more likely to fail than not... presuming I pass and I'm more likely to pass than not, I think I just pick up points, still have the unit that can take the objective, and nothing can really go in and fight them because I'm still able to zone with my Chariot. So I didn't really understand that one, but he failed them both anyway. So this was sort of the position where this guy's dicked himself on the impassable terrain in the middle. These guys stuck out a bit. I feel like they're missing a Claude Fiend unit. What's happened to that other Claude Fiend unit? He's hidden his Harbingers behind. How have they died? They're off the board. I think he ended up chaffing me with the other ones. So because these ones failed, the other ones moved up and chaffed me so that I couldn't get a good overrun. And that's why they're dead over there. Yeah, okay. That rings a bell, and I'm like 85% sure it's what happened. Yeah, I've got a mistake up in this right-hand side. So I spent too long trying to position my ambushes where they could all throw at the bloat flies. The giant was out of line of sight of the flies, and he was out of 6 inches of the the Wildhorns are out of 6 inches of the giant because he's got 1 wound left after taking magic damage, and I'm assuming he's going to die in Dave's next magic phase. So I'm 99% sure that if I hadn't done that little wheel, because you can see they're at an angle, I could have kept them out of 6 inches. But with all my sort of fiddling around, it got to like Dave's turn, and he was like, hey, this giant's still in the front. And we'd had a discussion where I was saying, like, this is what I'm trying to do over here. And like it wasn't like a line, it was like my guy is like half an inch inside their line of sight. So he was like, look, do you want him like outside the 6, or do you want him outside the line of sight? Because like it doesn't look like it can be either. So I think I could have if I'd thought about it, but I was sort of like, look, like this is my mistake. Like if you're happy with it, just pop him out at 6 inches, and I'll take the leadership test and the Wildhorns when you kill him. So we popped him out of 6 inches out of line of sight. And then in Dave's magic phase, he does kill the giant, and the Wildhorns do fail their panic and run off. So rather than losing, the extra half point to the giant, which is like 140, I also lose 230-ish for the Wildhorns, and it's just because I was taking too long to do something, didn't do it neat enough in the end after all my fiddling, and I should have just not really even bothered. I probably should have just put the Wildhorns down over here or something, so I've got 2 scoring units threatening to try and get the objective. I think I was too obsessed with doing like a wound or 2 to the bloatflies, and it was kind of dumb over here. Over on this side, I brought one of my Gortachs down over to basically just keep protecting these things from coming over and hassling the mongrels, who are now sitting on the objective, and we'll pick it up. And the other guy has just jumped out of line of sight of the bloatflies, and he's using the bloatflies base to stop the myrmidons from being able to maximize if they want to charge him. So yeah, I think when he pushed up the myrmidons, that's when I passed both my frenzy checks. And then in the next turn, this guy won't need a frenzy check, but this guy will, and he'll pass again. So I think I passed 3 frenzy checks, which I was probably lucky to. Yeah, okay. And his Blazing Glory is just fighting my Totem Beast up there. So, how many more pictures do I... Okay, so this is the last picture, so we're just going to have to explain from here. So basically, I realized on the left-hand side, I'm not getting this objective. Like, I'm not keeping him off it. And the more I keep my Gortachs over here, the more frenzy checks I'm taking. So I just popped that giant behind the hill, where basically nothing could charge him. And if he wanted to push up with the Myrmidons or something, I could see around it a little bit, but he'd have to walk away from that objective. And the Claude Fiends had turned round to face this direction. Basically because I knew that Dave saw, I should say, that if he didn't, these guys would be able to come in and charge the imps and sort of cause more damage over here than they could if he had them turned around, where I'm then in a tougher position where I'm going to get combo charged from a few different sides. yeah, so I gave up on that objective at this point. Those guys looking that way meant that if these guys pushed forward this way, they don't have a musician. They're the only... Oh, there's a scoring unit back there. I don't know. I probably shouldn't have even been looking out there and giving a chance of another failed frenzy check, if I'm honest. Otherwise, so he jumped his Clawed Fiends who were left, who had failed the charge, sort of out of my Chariot line of sight. And I ended up charging my Wildhorns into them, because I was thinking, if I get one spell on my Wildhorns, I'm pretty sure that I can just beat Clawed Fiends. You know, I've got paired weapons. I've got offensive 5, so I'm hitting him on 3s. Good chance that I'm re-rolling. I am wounding him on 5, so he's got a 5-up save, but he's got 12 attacks and 2 stomps. His attacks are hitting me on 4s. He's wounding me on 4s. So he's like, that's like 3 wounds, maybe 4 wounds. I got 15 attacks, which might do like 13 hits. I might do a similar... similar-ish output. I think I'm losing that a little bit if I don't get any spells off. But I've got, like, it's my turn. It's my magic phase. I can bump up their defensiveness. I can give them +1 strength. Unfortunately, I got the 2 card, or I got another bad card. Whatever I got, because I don't know if that 2 card is from this turn or the next turn. I didn't get any spells off. I failed a couple of times. And then I was worried and going like, shit, this could ruin me. Because that's going to make it very easy for you to get that objective. But then I did well in combat, and Dave fluffed a bit, and I was like, well, sort of balanced out the poor magic phase by doing that. Since this is the last picture, we're just going to have to keep talking about what's happening on the board. So, in all honesty, there actually isn't that much more action that's happened. I can't remember what turn this is, but it's 4 or 5, maybe. Dave ends up moving towards his objective. He moves there on turn 4. He moves there on turn 5. Whatever it was, we actually realized when we had like 10 minutes left in the game, or maybe even less, that he couldn't get there. He'd get there on turn 6 and he wouldn't be able to pick it up. My Chariots are basically trying to zone out that area, but I get chaffed by the imps. So I end up killing the imps. But there was a point where I had a decision where I could push out and charge basically, and then go, I'm probably copying Bloatflies, and I'm probably copying two Blazing Glories on them. And I basically was sort of like, look, that's probably not worth it, because I'm picking up like one of his small units. I have the possibility of losing 2,000 of my points, and even if he combo charges me with all those things, I probably don't pick up all of them. I might pick up one of them, and it really wasn't a good trade to make, or a good risk to take. So I just I kept them zoning or something, and they were chaffed, and they weren't really relevant. Like the end result for the Chariots was that they protected the Mongrels, they buffed up some other guys, and they killed a unit of imps and a unit of Clawed Fiends. They didn't kill that much this game. But oftentimes when they do this and they don't die, it's sort of like, I'm fine with that. The Wildhorn combat goes on for a while, to be honest. Like, I think Dave cast -1 strength on them. Eventually, sort of like, the end result in the game was that I was fighting the Clawed Fiends in the front, the Bloatflies were in my flank. Still managed to hold out in that combat. I did have buffs by that point, because we'd gone through, like, 2 combat phases to get there before he got to, or 3, I guess, in the end, before he got to countercharge me. And then my giant, who'd moved down to here or something, basically charged them as well. And the end result, I think, in the last round of the battle was a draw. I'm pretty sure it was a draw. But I did manage to either kill the Clawed Fiends. No, I got them down to 1 model. Yeah, I got the Clawed Fiends down to 1 model, so I got half points for them. I still had 4 of my Wildhorns left, so he didn't get any points for them. And it was quite a low scoring game, because I got 1.5 units of Clawed Fiends. I got the Imps, and I got 1 unit of Myrmidons. He got 1 of my Giants. He got my smaller unit of Gargoyles. Well, smaller at the moment. They started off the same size. Because, like, turn 6, I was like, look, I'm just going to make sure that I can't get fucked by anything. We sort of did turn 6 pretty rushed, but I was like, look, I would have had to put them there to make sure that you don't charge everything, and I just want to keep my chariots a bit safe anyway, so I'll just do that. And that basically means you won't charge me, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, I lost them, and I lost a giant, but otherwise I basically had all my points on the board. So even though I didn't get very many, we drew the objective because he had the left one, I had the middle one, and I got an 11-9 win, which I was very happy with, to be honest. Because like against a really strong player who I haven't played him that much, played him a couple of times before, but lost both those times. So yeah, I was really, really happy with the result, and it was a really intense game. It's hard to do it justice without enough pitches, because I was very distracted during the game and didn't take enough pitches. But it was intense. It was cagey, because we both sort of had the same situation on the left where we kind of couldn't charge each other. And then we sort of had not really the same situation on the right, but I sort of had dominant control over the center, and then it was really sort of a fight to get this objective, and I was trying to keep him off it more than I was trying to win it in the end, because my Wildhorns, as soon as those guys sort of came down in this little gap, my Wildhorns were originally facing sort of up more northish. As soon as they came into that little gap, I couldn't push them because then I'd get flank charged, so I had to fight them. The fight went longer than I hoped it would. So I really couldn't push there, and I was just sort of needing to stop Dave from getting there, basically. I did also tie up one of these Blazing Glories for, I think, 3 rounds of combat while he tried to kill a totem beast. He was just doing 1 wound every turn, which was a bit silly. But yeah, very cagey game, a lot of fun, and real intense. With a lot of like very precise sort of movements happening. But yeah, good fun. And I think I'd be interested to see, so sort of 2 things. If he had managed to get the Blazing Glory and the Clawed Fiends into the Mongrels, as I said, I think I win. But maybe I don't. Maybe that changes the game more significantly than I'm appreciating. I also think it would be interesting to play this game again without the impassable terrain in the middle. Because I think the fact that I won the roll for sides and was able to sort of just do that with my Mongrels, where I sat there, I took the objective, and I went, day done for those boys. It would have been a lot harder if I didn't have the impassable sort of blocking that whole counter onto them. Because I guess if I go up... say that wasn't there, I think it's much harder for me to push up and not get charged by a lot of things. Like, all it would take is... as I said, I think I win a grind with the Clawed Fiends, the Blazing Glory, but I don't think I win that if he puts a 3rd unit in, and I don't think I win it if he's able to get more units... Like, as we grind, if he's able to put more units in, while stopping me from getting my counter charges in. And I think with his unit advantage, he'd be able to do that. So I think that without the impassable terrain in the middle, there's a very real possibility that I would have had to approach the game very differently, because I don't think the Mongrels could succeed in the position that I had them in. Sort of thinking off the top of my head, what would I do? I think I maybe would have cornered a little bit, to be honest. Like, sort of deployed in this region, or this region, whatever, and sort of moved out from there, because I think that I would need to have other ways of protecting the flanks of that mongrel unit, I guess. And it would just be a little bit hard, because I feel like I don't know that without that impassable there, I could do enough to exert pressure across 2/3 of the board. So I think probably actually what I'd have to do is I'd have to go bank on the Mongrels getting one of the edge ones, and then use like my Gortachs, a bit my Chariots, to try and keep him off the center one. So almost like a sort of similar similar approach to what happened here, where I'm trying to keep him off this when I'm getting the center one. But I think it would be much harder for me, and I think that maybe with like a map pack map, this matchup would be, and this objective would be worse. In fairness, this is, with my list, probably one of my worst objectives. Hold the center's not great, but the Mongrels are a pretty decent unit when I just need to hold the center. Breakthrough's terrific. Scoring units is good, because I've only got 3 of them. King of the Hill... Yeah, I mean, King of the Hill's fine, because I can at least play that to a draw. This is probably my worst objective, I think. But I think without the Impassable Terrain in the middle, I probably lose the game. Still, I don't think a massive loss, assuming I play it well and everything, and I don't take dumb risks to try and get the win. But I think that roll for sides and the terrain that was on the board was actually pretty significant, to be honest. This video has gone a lot longer than I thought, given that I only had 5 pitches. Well, I love to ramble, but I'm going to end it there. So I will catch you for the next one, which will be at some point. I got all the pitches ready. It's just when I stop down and do it. Cheers, guys.